Are you looking for a new construction home in Aledo ISD, but aren't sure where to find the latest and greatest neighborhoods? Well, in this video, I'm gonna talk about 5 of the newest neighborhoods you should be considering. Whether you're looking for a luxury gated community with all the amenities, or you want a quiet hilltop retreat to build your dream home, we're gonna cover a variety of topics, and some of these neighborhoods are not nearly as expensive as you think they might be. I'm Jared with Living in Aledo, and I do want to give a caveat that this video is not maybe technically the newest neighborhoods or the last 5 neighborhoods to come on board, but these are some of the newest neighborhoods in varying stages of build out and construction not everyone knows about, right? So because Aledo is growing so much, because the schools are so great, and if you haven't watched those videos, go check them out. I have one about the schools specifically. But there are a couple of neighborhoods that recently I've driven past, and these are really more developments. There's maybe no homes there. I'm like, oh my gosh, when did that pop up? When did that development? They just threw up the sign, the groundwork's going in, so the lots aren't available yet. So these aren't those neighborhoods, but these are 5 of the newest neighborhoods that you should be considering and that not everyone knows about or understands very well. And if this is your first time on the channel and you are considering a move to the Aledo area, hit that subscribe button. Feel free to reach out with whatever questions you have. If you are planning a trip out here or a move, reach out sooner rather than later to make sure that you really make the most of your time if you come down here, and I can help narrow down your search for what you might be looking for you and your family. And with that, let's hop into the video. Okay, now first up on the list is gonna be Kelly Ranch. And this one's gonna be pretty unique for a number of different reasons, so stick with me on this one. But it's also gonna be the most different from the rest that we speak about today. So Kelly Ranch is gonna be off of 377 and Kelly Road. So it's about 11 miles from the highway, but with traffic and typical drive time, you're probably looking at between 15 and 20 minutes to get to the highway if you're going up 377 through Benbrook, up to I-20. So it is a little further down. Now there's going to be some reasons for that, or some, mitigating circumstances make that maybe not as big of an issue. So one of the unique things about this neighborhood is that it is going to be more like a large, it's a master plan community. You're going to have all like city or municipality provided services like water, sewer, and all that. And we'll talk about that in a minute, but that's through the city of Crescent, essentially. So you're so far south in Aledo ISD that you're close enough to Crescent that they're gonna bring in the utilities and provide that water and sewer for the neighborhood. Now it is gonna be a gated neighborhood. There's gonna be multiple sections. You've got Rio Vista, La Dorado, Sierra Vista, and one of the most unique things is that you're gonna be literally right next to Blue Jack Ranch. So if you haven't checked out the Blue Jack Ranch video and you're a big golfer, go check that out. Maybe the best way to describe it is this is going to be like Walsh Ranch, but in South Aledo. So master plan community, it's gonna have all the amenities. It's gonna have the pools, the fitness center, it's gonna have a sauna, it's gonna have a daycare. It's gonna be gated, unlike Walsh. HOA is gonna be kind of expensive. It's gonna be like $2,700 per year. It's supposed to be, when it's built out, like 2,500 acres. There is supposed to be some commercial development coming in at some point. I don't have the details on that yet. I've actually been told by someone that really the plan is, if you're familiar with the Clear Fork area, which I've mentioned in other videos, it's in Fort Worth, so it's not really part of the channel, but it's where I like to go for like date nights with my wife, stuff like that. Is they're supposed to be building something like Clear Fork off 377 that would be servicing a lot of these higher end neighborhoods, specifically probably anchored by Kelly Ranch, Blue Jack Ranch, and then you're also gonna have Maverick Golf and Ranch. So you've got all of these like nice high-end neighborhoods with, higher income earners, and they maybe don't want to drive 20 minutes up 377. So some higher end, commercial development down there. So the builders you have, and then maybe we'll talk about the price points too. So you've got some kind of more regular builders for price points for Aledo in the 7, 8, 100-ish range. You've got Stonefield, Sandland, Pivot. Then you've got the Builder, which they actually build some really nice products, well above $1 million. They're building in Woodland Meadows, which we'll talk about in a minute. But really the price points in this neighborhood are going to be pretty broad. Some very different products will be available. So if you look at their website, it says like starting in the low 800s or starting at 800. A lot of times developments like this don't update their websites very often. So what you've actually seen is there's actually homes available in the mid 600s right now. But long term, and the plan is, especially with some of the higher end, more custom builders, you're probably going to have homes upwards close to maybe $2 million. There might be some like smaller little sections of this neighborhood that are kind of separate, maybe the exclusive sections of the neighborhood, where you would get these higher end homes, higher end finish outs, and much higher price points. Now, again, you are Aledo ISD, even though you are Crescent Utilities, and you're going to be in Vandergrift Elementary. So you're going to be kind of on the southern edge. So you're going to be a few minutes away from Vandergrift, but that's where your kids are going to go if you are in Kelly Ranch area. Biggest negative, as long as you're cool with the distance, that's really not what I want to talk about. Biggest negative is because you are getting city utilities, you actually have a MUD, a municipal utility district. It's like Crescent MUD 1 or something like that. And so rather than having a 1.8% tax rate like most of the other neighborhoods that we're going to talk about in this video, because you are outside city limits. So if you're in Parker County, outside city limits, you have a 1.8% tax rate if you're in Aledo ISD. We have a MUD. Well, the other neighborhood we've talked a lot about on the channel that has a MUD is Morningstar. And Morningstar's MUD is 1%. So Morningstar has, their MUD is 1%, making their tax rate about 2.8%. Unfortunately, it's the same for Kelly Ranch. So if you are price sensitive when it comes to your taxes, Kelly Ranch is going to be more expensive than average for tax purposes, the tax rate. So you have a 1% MUD in Kelly Ranch, making your effective tax rate about 2.8% because of that MUD. And the MUDs don't go away like the PIDs in Walsh do. So that's just something you're gonna have to live with. So that's kind of the only real negative. There are gonna be a lot of cool things about Kelly Ranch. You've got all the amenities, you've got the privacy, you've got the security, you've got the the nice golf courses next to you, but it's going to come with a little bit of a con, meaning higher property taxes and a decently high HOA, but you are getting a lot of services for that. So that's really not the biggest negative in my brain is the HOA. It's just part of the package. Okay, next up on the list is one that has been receiving more and more attention lately, not only from people just looking for a new home, but for people who are interested in lots. So probably have a video about best neighborhoods to buy your own lot in later, but this one's just about this neighborhood in general because there are new construction homes you can buy, and that's Bear Creek Ranch. So this is actually a gated neighborhood. Didn't make my other video about gated neighborhoods, but it's on this one. It's a really cool neighborhood. Now it is off of Bear Creek Road, which is one of the more remote places that you can be in the Aledo area. So you're gonna be like 15 to 20 minutes off the highway, no matter which way you go, if you're living in this neighborhood. So for some people, they love it. They want that space. They want that remoteness. They love it. They want, 2+ acres, which is what you're going to get here. Between 2 and 7 acres is what's available in this neighborhood. And so that's great. If that's what you want, you can get it here. HOA is going to be about $1,500 per year. They don't currently have any amenities, and they probably won't. $1,500 a year is about right for just a gated community, because not only are you going to be responsible for the neighborhood, for maintaining the gates and the exterior fencing and all that, but when you have a gate, you are essentially making your roads private. So there's going to be money required to maintain those roads as well. Now, what I do like about Bear Creek Ranch is that you really do have some good terrain elevation changes. You have hilltop views, you have creekside lots. So that's really neat. Currently, the only builder that was offering new construction homes that I've seen recently was Caliber Homes. Now, you can buy your own lot in there and you can build with any custom builder. So that's a big plus. I've had an influx of people interested in buying lots and building themselves. Now, one thing to note is what are you going to spend on lots? And I'll talk more about this in another video, but specifically in Bear Creek Ranch, you're looking at probably 200 up to, there was one lot that was $795. That's $795,000. And that was like a 6 or 7 acre lot. So there was one lot that was as little as $175,000. And I'll be honest, if you find something that is below $200,000 for a buildable lot in Aledo, the first thing I do is I look to see if it's in a floodplain. Oftentimes you'll have lots that are a little bit less expensive than what you expect. It ends up a decent portion of that lot is in the floodplain. So it's something you can work around, but make sure you check before you get terribly excited. Since it's 2-acre minimum out here, you are going to be on a private well and septic. So your own well and your own septic, no city taxes, and the electricity is going to be through Tri-County. So some of my other videos, I've talked about Tri-County Electric, which means they installed the lines and they are the only energy provider. So you have to buy it through them. It is a co-op, so like technically you're like a partial owner. When I've looked at rates, they have been marginally higher than what I pay when I'm shopping my rates and making sure I'm getting the absolute lowest I can. Not everyone does that. So it's not a racket, like they're not making a ton extra, but it is marginally higher. I'm talking about like maybe 5 to 8% higher than what I pay on mine when I get to shop my electricity provider. One of the interesting things is that this is actually right next door to the historic Moncrief Ranch. That's one of the longtime like Fort Worth centric families who've done a lot of philanthropy and stuff. So nothing's really going to impact you, but kind of an interesting note. It's right next door. And this neighborhood does feed into Stewart Elementary. If you have young kids, that's the elementary school that you'll be attending. And you're probably 10 minutes away because you have to go all the way up Bear Creek, and then you have to go up like Savage and around Muir down to like FM5 and loop back around to actually very, very, very close to number 5 on the list that we'll talk about in a few minutes. But this is a really neat one for a couple of reasons, because there's lots of available lots to buy now, but they also have some builders building like spec stuff if you want. And again, those are starting at about in the mid 800s. Okay, next up on the list is a unique neighborhood that I actually really like. It's got some unique features and some peculiarities. So Woodland Meadows is number 3 on the list. It is just northwest of Bella Flora, the gated and guarded community off 1187. So you're going to be about 15 to 20 minutes off I-20 if you're heading into Fort Worth. And the way you would do that is you would go southeast on 1187, you'd hit 377 and go up through Benbrook. So you're like 15-ish minutes without traffic, 20 minutes with traffic just to get to I-20. And then you're another maybe 10 to 15 from downtown. Now, if you're heading into Aledo, maybe you're dropping your kids off to school, you're going to be 10 to 15 minutes to the school, to like the high school as well. So you are fairly remote. You're kind of at the southern edge of Aledo ISD, but this is a really cool neighborhood. And the unique thing about it is it actually straddles the Tarrant County, Parker County lines, which means that you actually have significant or impactful differences depending on which county you're in and which part of the neighborhood you're in. So the front section of the neighborhood as you drive in is going to be Parker County, which has a 2-acre minimum when it comes to if you're going to have well and septic. So the neighborhood's all well and septic. There's no city taxes. And then it's really interesting. If you look at like the Google map and like the lot lines, and they're all approximate, but you can actually see a straight line, like a straight line up through the neighborhood of how these lots are designed to where they actually butt up to either side of the county line. So the lots in Tarrant County, and most of the remaining properties and lots are in Tarrant County, they have a 1-acre minimum for well and septic. So you can get a 1-acre lot. But you're also gonna have a difference in the taxes. So if you're outside city limits in Tarrant County versus Parker County, your taxes in Parker County are gonna be slightly higher. You're gonna have a 1.8% all-encompassing tax rate. And in Tarrant County, you're gonna have a 1.76. So it's 0.04%. It's not enormous, but it's just something worth noting. Now, I really do like this neighborhood because you have a variety of like feels to the topography. You have a portion of the neighborhood which is heavily treed, which I really like now, even though it can cost you some money, which I'll talk about in a minute. It also has like a hilltop, like so like the back section of the neighborhood right now, it's like up on a hilltop. You get a good breeze all the time. When you are up there, you can like see really far out. It's a nice neighborhood because you have some different options when it comes to like the topography and the feel and the landscape. So builders in the neighborhood. You have M the Builder that is still building. You have Remington Custom Homes, which has some homes that are available, and I think they're building as well. And then Hark Homes, which I really like. I think they sold everything out. So they have some homes in there, but I think they've all sold. So, if you're looking at resale or pre-owned homes, maybe you'll come across one that was built by Hark. Now, there is an HOA. It's about $525 a year, but there's no amenities. This is just to like maintain like the basics, like street lights, the entry gate, or like the entry like signage and the wall. There's no actual gate there and some stuff like that. So that's something worth noting. There aren't any amenities. There's no swimming pool. There's no basketball courts. There's nothing like that. That's not really why people buy out here. And then what price point should you expect right now? Now, this is early mid 2025, so this is all going to change. But the homes that are available right now are about $1 million up to about 1.5. So well above average for the Aledo area, but that is in line with what they're building. These are larger homes on larger lots. You have your own well and septic. So nice homes. It's kind of interesting. Like you'll have like the name custom in these homes, but they're building spec homes, which means they're not custom to you, but maybe they're kind of custom to the builder. So these are nice homes. They are fairly unique. You should check them out. There's some really unique features on some of these homes. I've had clients really interested in it. They just haven't moved here yet, but they loved the neighborhood. They loved the different options they had. And so that would be a good neighborhood to check out. If you do want to be a little bit further out and you kind of like that more rural feel without being like way out there, and you still want to be in a neighborhood where you don't have to worry about like maybe like there being a manufactured home, 1 acre away or 1 lot away. So Woodland Meadows, it's great. I would highly consider it. I do like the neighborhood. And this one actually does feed to Vandergrift Elementary as well. So like, as you'll see in this video, pretty much all these neighborhoods feed to Vandergrift or Stewart because they are in the southern section, which have the largest attendance zone coverages. So this one is Vandergrift, just like the next one coming up. Now, if you're finding this breakdown helpful and you are considering a move to the Aledo area, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you have a favorite neighborhood from this video or any of the others you've seen, put that in the comment section below. Okay, next up on the list is going to be a neighborhood that is directly next to Woodland Meadows. You can actually see the other neighborhoods just like sitting in your car on the streets. So this is going to be Prairie Hills. So it's still going to be that 15-20 minutes from the highway, depending on traffic, off of 1187 close to 377. But the difference in this neighborhood is that there's no HOA. It's going to be 2 acre lots, well and septic, so there's no city taxes. So all those are big pros, things that people will like some of the other neighborhoods that you're gonna, especially the next one you're gonna hear about. There's not a whole lot of mature trees. This was really more of like prairie kind of pasture land at some point. So minimal tree coverage, but you do have the 2 acre lots, no city taxes. You have 2 builders that are currently building right now. That's Brookson Builders and Crown Group Builders, and phase 1 is totally sold out. So you do have some homes that are available for sale. I think the builders own the lots that are not being built on right now, or maybe some individuals own them. So phase 1 is sold out. Phase 2 should be coming. I'm trying to get information on that. So if you're interested, after hearing about all this, put a comment below. We'll follow up. On this one, it's a little bit unique. There is kind of a big con to this neighborhood that a lot of people are not going to like. There are high voltage power lines that run across the neighborhood and then down the side. So there are a handful of lots that are very, very close to high voltage power lines, which a lot of people don't like, honestly. So that's a negative. A lot of times with a negative, there's a pro. If that is something that doesn't bother you, you might be able to get a better deal on a home that is close to or backs up or has the view of a high voltage power line. Now, there's other neighborhoods that also have power lines that run through them in different areas or portions, And when you have 2 acres, it's not typically sitting right over your house, but some people they don't even want to see them. So that's something to think about. Again, there are some good pros to this neighborhood. It is kind of out in the country. It's 2 acres, no city taxes, and you can get good new construction. And this one is a little bit above average price point. These homes are starting in the mid 800s for the most part. Again, very few trees, mostly flat, a little bit of rolling kind of hills. And then this neighborhood actually feeds into Vandergrift Elementary. So the one thing I really want people to know about if they get excited or they want to go check these homes out is there are some high voltage power lines in the area. And if that's a total deal killer for you, it's probably not worth looking at. But if it's not, it could be a good neighborhood for you to consider, especially if you're wanting to be a little further out. Okay, now last but certainly not least is going to be a neighborhood that's going to be a little bit more affordable. Now these are 1 acre lots, and I'll tell you how they're able to do that in a moment. But we have Aledo Heights. It's going to be a small community on the very southern edge of that FM5 and 1187 loop. Again, 1 acre lots. There is an HOA. And I don't know exactly what that HOA is right now because there's 2 home builders. There's Kenmark and there's Elmwood. And the information I get from them does not match in regards to what the HOA cost is. So one of them is advertising that it's $500. The other is advertising that the HOA is $750. That's per year. And then when I actually reached out to confirm, the only response I was able to get was from one of the sales reps who said it was like $675. So the HOA is going to be somewhere between $500 and $750. I actually don't have a client who's actually bought a home in the neighborhood, We've looked, it's a little bit smaller. There are some reasons why sometimes people would prefer a different neighborhood. But one of the unique things about this is that this is a new construction neighborhood that is on 1 acre lots. And if you've listened to the other videos, and obviously I've mentioned it in this video, the requirement for well and septic in Parker County is now 2 acres. So, and this is not in city limits. We do not have city utilities in this neighborhood. So how are they able to do that? Well, they're 1 acre lots. There's actually a private community well. So there's one large well. You can see it in maybe some of these drone shots I have with a little bit of a reservoir. And that large well services the neighborhood. So then each individual lot has their own septic system. So that is actually how they're able to do 1 acre lots rather than 2 acre lots. So that was probably done, honestly, just the revenue that the developer or the builders could get out of doing the neighborhood, because that's basically twice as many homes that they're able to put in that neighborhood for, basically the same development costs. So pretty cool. And like I said, there's no amenities there, but one of the really interesting stories I have about this neighborhood is that, they were building homes. It was early in the process. This was like over a year ago when this all went down. So this is all solved now. But when early in the process, they were building homes, a few of the homes had actually been completed and sold, and the well had not been given the green tag to actually provide water. Like the well was installed, it was there, but it hadn't been like green tagged to actually connect to homes yet. Well, some of these homeowners actually really wanted to live in their home and close on the purchase. And so for a while, some homeowners who were willing to do this actually were living on water in like reservoir tanks that they had like sitting on the side of their house that they would have filled, and then that water would service their house while they were waiting for the community well to be approved. So that's kind of an interesting story. It never come across a neighborhood where that happened before, where people were buying homes that didn't actually have water service yet. So last couple of things about this neighborhood is it is right in front of La Madera, which gets highlighted in other videos for multiple reasons, but it's right there at that same entrance. So you're going to be 10 to 15 minutes off the highway, depending on which way you go and time of day. Mostly school traffic is going to impact that. Currently, you do have homes starting in the mid to low 700s. So right there at about the average Aledo price point in that 650, 700 range, maybe a smidge above the average. And then this neighborhood does feed into Stewart Elementary, which is really pretty close. Even though Stewart has a really wide and large attendance area, this neighborhood is very close. So why would people not love this neighborhood? Honestly, it's just super flat with very minimal trees. Very few trees throughout the neighborhood. So sometimes I have clients who they really want mature trees. And if they really want mature trees, this is not the neighborhood for them. I have some clients who they just want new construction and they actually want a super usable yard. Maybe they plan to put a pool in the backyard. Maybe they don't want to maintain the trees. I'll tell you right now, maintaining a treed lot is fairly expensive. It's more expensive than I ever thought. My wife today is going to be writing over a $3,000 check to prevent oak wilt in our lot, in our oak trees, because we don't want our oak trees to die. A couple years back, we had a few die from oak wilt. So we learned our lesson. We need to treat them if we don't want them to die. So there's pros and cons to a treed lot. But one of the cons of this neighborhood for some people is that there's really no mature trees. It was like a pasture land or something. So it's very flat and no trees. But if you're not worried about trees, then it could be a great option for you. So that's Aledo Heights, and that was number 5 on the list. So those are 5 of the newest neighborhoods in the Aledo area. And really, whether you are looking for something like a master plan community with all the amenities, or you want some space from your neighbors and to be left alone, there's really great options for anything you're looking for. Now, if you are already planning a move to the Aledo area, especially if you have a trip planned to come check stuff out, or you just want to drive through it and see what's going on, don't wait to reach out. Let's get some time in the books. I'd love to help you make the most of the time you have while you're here. And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, do that. Got lots more content coming. So until next time.